This is the Roller Coaster Podcast, and I'm your host, Lucy Q. Life is a wild ride. It has twists and turns. It's scary, exciting, and downright fun. So throw your head back, arms in the air, and come along with me for the ride.
Life is like a roller coaster, baby, baby. I wanna ride.
Time management. Sometimes I think it's a joke, a myth, or even a fantasy. Sure, we all start our days with the best of intention, but shit always happens. And when you're in the thick of it, all you can do is roll with the punches. Joining me today is Fred Moore, a professional speaker and entertainer who's been wowing audiences around the world for over 25 years. And Fred is here to share his wisdom on time management and productivity. Welcome to the roller coaster, Fred.
Oh, thank you. Are we going up the hill?
Click, we're clicking, we're clacking. Here we go.
I love the title of this thing because I'm a roller coaster guy. Love roller coasters.
So do I. And
yeah, my wife hates them. When we first got together, we took her to a theme park. She rode roller coasters all day long with me until we got to the big final one, Six Flags in Houston. And she says, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, I hate roller coasters. I'm like, why are you doing it? Well, because, I love you. But now it's like, nope, you're on your own. Go for it. So.
Yeah, my husband wasn't too keen on them at the beginning, but, he got onto them more. But sadly, I don't live near a theme park and haven't been able to travel in a while. So I don't know how I would fare on a roller coaster nowadays.
I don't think you lose your quote sea legs on a roller coaster. I think you get back up to it pretty quick.
No, I think it's more the warnings that they have now about people with back or neck injuries don't get on it.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
I'm on the upswing to 50. Things tend to change a little bit.
You start making noises you never made before, like when you move.
It sounds like the clickety clack of a roller coaster.
Yeah. It's like, who dropped a glass? Oh, that was my knees. Oh, okay.
Exactly. Oh, it's just all great.
But we digress.
That's okay. I love rabbit holes.
There you go.
So how did you get into entertainment and then start to weave in time management and productivity as themes?
Yeah, I know it's a strange path. You think about it. It's like, what? I don't understand that. I was one of those kids that I was the youngest of four boys in my family. And the oldest brother closest to me was 5 years between us. The others were like 2 years apart. I wasn't an accident at all. But so because of that, I kind of spent a lot of time alone because it was 5 years difference. So when I was like 7 years old, my next oldest brother, he was 12, right? So he's like, well, I don't want to hang out with a kid. So I think that probably fostered my imagination. So I always like to show off, always like to perform. Now I was a very shy kid. You had to talk to any entertainer, and most of them are basically shy people. And the entertainment was an outlet for them, a way to, because we all have stuff we want to get out, but most people, I don't want to, So I was in the school plays, and I took a whole bunch of lessons when I was, younger. I took singing lessons. I took tap dancing lessons. I took music lessons, and I learned a lot. I learned I couldn't do any of those very well. But I wanted to perform, and like any kid, I got into magic. So it was about 16 years old when my high school guidance counselor said, you're 16. What do you want to do for the rest of your life? Because every 16-year-old
because we know at that
life.
age.
Exactly. Yeah. Of course. You got it all planned out, And I said, I want to be a magician. And he looked at me and went, good luck with that. And he had no advice to give me really, other than, go for it. I took lessons from a magician, started doing magic shows. Worked a couple of theme parks up in Ohio, where I'm originally from, and outside of Buffalo, New York. Got a lot of shows under my belt because you work theme parks and it's 5 shows a day, 6 days a week for 4 months. So, one summer I did 500 shows. And it's kind of like the Simon Sinek thing where you need, 10,000 hours to be an expert or to be good at something. And that's where I got my 10,000 hours. You do something like that over and over and over enough, you either get good at it or you hopefully realize I should be doing this, yeah. And fortunately I got good at it. I got better at it. And then had the, bounced around from the quote real jobs. I say I'm air quotes. If you're listening to this, my fingers are using air quotes. And I say real job because, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're an entertainer, if you're a speaker, your job is to find work. And that is real work. You go an hour on stage and you just talk for an hour. It's like, yeah, there's a lot more to it, and, than just that. I spent more time in this job than I had any other job working. But yeah, I had the various real jobs. And then right before my 30th birthday, I'd set a goal that I was going to be doing magic for a living by the time I turned 30. And I did that. And the first week was great. And then I didn't make any more money for like 2 months. It didn't have a good plan. But I got the ball rolling and started getting consistent work and whatnot, and started working. They call it the corporate market when they have a convention, and sometimes they'll bring in entertainment for the convention. If it's a big convention, they'll bring in, big names, but most conventions will just bring in somebody. And I started doing that, and I kind of got into that world and seeing the keynote speakers. And some friends of mine who were in entertainment started doing that as well. And I saw some speakers, breakout speakers at these conferences and things like that, that had really good information, but no presentation skills. And it was, and I could see the audience. I'm looking around the audience and they're tuned out. They're, nowadays they're on their phones, and so I knew it was like, all right, well, I've got the presentation skills down. I know how to capture an audience's attention and keep them engaged. So the leap to being a keynote speaker should be a little bit easier, but I had to discover what I was going to teach people. I mean, I'm not going to go to a Coca-Cola at their all hands meeting and teach people how to do card tricks, because they're not going to pay me for that. It might be fun. And so I thought, well, what do I know how to do really, really well besides the entertainment? And that's when I figured out time management was a skill that I'd learned over the years, not because I wanted, to get a whole lot of work done and get so much crammed into my day. I learned time management skills because I'm a lazy person. I want to get stuff done as easy and as fast as possible, so I have time for the fun stuff. So I can relax. I can watch TV. I can, now it's like, all right, I'm going to go outside and play with my kids. I'm going to go on a date with my wife tonight, because I now have more time to do that. So the time management just kind of sprang from, again, my expertise. It's like, well, what am I good at besides, doing magic? Well, the business side was time management and stress management, because those are very close together. And as you said at the top of the show here, time management.
What is that?
Yeah. I always say that time management is a joke. I call myself a time management expert because that's what everyone knows it is. But there's no such thing as time management, because you can't manage time. You can manage yourself. It's more self-management than time management. How you use your time, whether you waste it, whether you use it, whether you get more out of it than you normally would by doing different things that I teach. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, the path that led me here.
But also wove it all together. So I'm not wrong in saying that time management as it's presented, because you do see, there's tons of resources and speakers out there talking about time management, and it all sounds good in principle. It sounds good while you're sitting there listening to it, but it's not the real world. It's just not, because you can't anticipate the stuff that's going to come up in the course of a day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why one of the things I talk about is planning for that. Because if normal in an 8-hour day, it takes you 4 hours to do the task that you need to do, and the other 4 hours of your day are dealing with everything else. Well, if you can learn to do that 4 hours of work and chunk it down so it's more efficient, it's more focused, and you get it done in 3 hours, then that gives you an extra hour to deal with all that other stuff, or an extra hour to relax, to take a break, to whatever. So yeah, time management, it kind of goes into a few different sections. There's the techniques, the skills, the hacks, the life hacks that you can use that will help with time management. But again, it goes back to that self-management aspect where it's more mindset than anything else. Because yeah, stuff is going to come up during the day, but if you have a designated time, I'll give you a quick example. I've got time blocks. I call them productivity time blocks, where I'll designate like an hour or two, and I'm going to do just one thing during that hour. And that means that there's going to be no interruptions. I'm not going to check my email. I'm not going to take phone calls. My office door is shut. Don't bother me. And for me, it's one of the most important tasks that I have is prospecting. Find somebody that has a problem that I can solve. So during that time, I'm doing just that one thing. Now, if I'd spent my a regular, and what I used to do is just like, all right, well, I'm going to prospect. And while I'm prospecting, I'm also going to check any emails that come in. And while that's gone, I might answer a phone call. I might go, talk to somebody in the office, whatever. There's all these other things that I would spend the whole day, maybe getting 10 prospects into my database, spending the whole day with all those interruptions, with all the distractions and all that. But by chunking it down and focusing on just that one thing, then in an hour, I can get 10 or 20 prospects into my database and then still have the rest of the day to deal with all that other stuff. So it's kind of like prioritizing. What's the most important thing you need to do? Focus on that. Shut out all distractions if you can. Right? I mean, somebody that's their job is to, answer the phone. Obviously, they're not going to, mute the phone for an hour. They'll get fired. But just by focusing on that one thing, you're going to get more mileage out of your time. You're going to get a more focused time on that thing. You're going to get more quality work done in that time. Does that make sense?
It does. And you touched on something earlier, and it's something that is also a great myth that we keep telling ourselves, and that's multitasking. And
Yeah.
and I am terrible. Like what you just said about, you're focused on doing a task, but then it's like, oh, I have an email. Oh, I have a text. Oh, the phone is ringing. And it's just like squirrel. And,
Exactly.
But I used to be able to be really focused, and somewhere along the line that just all fell to the wayside. And I guess that just comes with, all the things that are buzzing around in my head. They call it monkey mind. So I'm always like, which monkey's screaming the loudest, and then that's the one I'm following. It's a really horrible habit I'm trying to break. But you mentioned that there's hacks that we can use. What are some of your top hacks for, time / self-management?
One I touched on was the those focused hours of productivity. Focus on one task, just one thing, just that one thing in that hour. And if it's prospecting, I'll typically do like 2 hours, but I won't do 2 hours in a row. Because that's the thing, you might be tempted to go, all right, I'm going to focus on this one thing, but I'm going to do it for 3 or 4 hours. And what happens is those 3 or 4 hours, the quality of the work keeps going down and down and down and down because your mind can't take that. So typically in an hour, it'll be 45 minutes of me doing the focused work, and 10 or 15 minutes of getting up, walking around, taking a bio break, as it were, getting something to eat, pet the cat, play with the dog, whatever, and then back to the task. So that's one of the things that I do. Another thing I'll do is you were talking about multitasking, and it's funny. You can multitask, but it depends on what you're doing, whether the multitasking is going to work. If you're going to listen to a podcast, if you're listening to this podcast right now and you're on the treadmill or you're running or you're exercising, that's multitasking that will work for you, because it's kind of, there's two different parts of your brain are doing things. But when you're trying to multitask, like you said, you squirrel on the internet, especially, then it's just no good, because your brain is not doing two things at once. It's switching from one task to another, back and forth rapidly, and the quality is not there. And if you just did the one thing for 45 minutes, it's going to be much better than if you're multitasking and doing three things and it takes you 3 hours. Then it's still, you're still getting the same amount of work, just not, the quality isn't there. I heard that the internet is kind of like the new version of walking into a room and then forgetting what you walked in the room for, right? Because yes. I've done this so many times. You go on, click, all right, let me check Facebook real quick, because somebody messaged me about this thing that they wanted, a business opportunity. And then I click on Facebook and I go, oh, my friend messaged me. What did they say? Oh, they were talking about this funny cat video. Oh, look at that funny cat video. Hey, look at this other video. And then 20 minutes later, you're like, why did it go on the internet?
Guilty.
Yeah, exactly.
Guilty as charged.
And you go down that rabbit hole, and it's that squirrel, which is the purpose of Facebook, right? They want you to do that because they're going to lead you to where they want you to be. So, once you're aware of stuff like that, then it's like, all right, I'm going to go on here, and I know this is going to happen. And you're going to do the best to stop it, and maybe you will, and maybe you won't. But by, recognizing that, okay, wait. What was I focused on? Why did I go here? And that may be a simple act of, all right, I need to look this thing up. Hang on. I'm going to grab a piece of paper and just write it down real quick and just stick it in front of me. Write it down and then go look for it. So when you do go up down that rabbit hole and you start to think, what was I got? Oh, yes. Okay, back to work. No funny cat video. So yeah, those are a couple of things. Another thing that I like to do, I think the biggest problem that people have now is they have an idea of what they want to do, but they're not sure what to do, right? I want to start my own business. All right, well, what do I do? What do I need to do? I want to lose weight. I want to go here. I want to do that. I want to make this much money. But they don't know exactly what to do. So there's a brainstorming thing I came up with. I call it a 50 ways list. And essentially, it's a brainstorming technique. You just make a list of 50 ways on how to do this thing that you want to do. I'll use the weight loss example because it's a common goal in the world, really. If you have to make a list of 50 ways on how to lose weight, it's going to do a couple of things. Because if you have to make a list of like 10 or 20 things, you could probably do that. But if you have to push yourself to come up with 50 ideas, you're going to think of things that you normally wouldn't have thought of. You're going to think outside of the box, strange things that maybe will work, maybe they won't work. Maybe they're stupid ideas. I don't know. But you're just going to come up with these ideas. You're also going to get more specific with the ideas that you're coming up with, because you need to have 50. So instead of like, I'm going to join a gym, that's how I'm going to lose weight. Well, I'm going to join a gym and take a Zumba class. I'm going to join a gym and start exercising. I'm going to go skydiving. I don't know how that would make you lose. Maybe the screaming on the way down. Which, fun fact, by the way, in skydiving, it is not the fall that kills you. It's the sudden stop at the end. But anyway, so the 50 ways list. Yeah. You just kind of, you're brainstorming, you're coming up with ideas. And if you're doing this like with a team of people, you don't do it as a group, you do it individually, because some people are going to come up with the same ideas, but somebody is going to come up with an idea that nobody had thought of. So instead of ending up with 50 ways on how to do this, you may end up with 60 or 70 ways on how to do this. So now when it comes to your goal that you have, increasing sales this month in the company, and things are going good, great. You don't need the 50 ways left. But when things are not going good, when you're not making those sales, when the quota is not coming in, when the phone's not ringing, then you're like, all right, well, what do we do? Most people are like, I don't know. What do we do? Let's try this. Well, now you have a list of 50 things that you can try, and you can start going through. And because the biggest problem with getting a goal is figuring out what exactly that you want to do. And when you try one of these things and it doesn't work, stop doing that. Hey, it's not rocket science, right? If what you're doing isn't working, change it. But again, people get in that mindset. It was like, well, I tried. I tried once. I went to the gym one day and I haven't lost any weight. Where's the Krispy Kreme donuts? I'm done. But by having this list of 50 ways, you don't have an excuse. You don't have an out. You have options to choose from. So does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I like that idea, the 50 list ideas. And I also think that we always over assume how much we can get accomplished in a given period of time. I used to start off my days with, 10 or 12 bullets of, things I'm going to get done. And then you realize that, you only get 2 or 3 done.
Yeah.
So I've actually started only putting 2 or 3 items on my list. And that's it. Because you're setting yourself up to fail. If you're trying to get 10 to 12 things done in a day, it's not going to happen, because you have to allow for that other stuff that comes up. So if you're only, basically, if you set the bar really low, then you can't help but succeed.
Yeah.
It's a little backwards philosophy, but at least you're getting your stuff done. And hey, I do tend to lay out my week a little bit. So if I have extra time, I can always pick up another task from, later on in the week, and then just get it done. And as you said, have more time later on.
Right. Exactly. And there's always those tasks that you need to do. There's like the 3 categories of tasks: the tasks that you want to do, the tasks that you need to do, and the tasks you should be doing, but probably aren't gonna. And you have to kind of prioritize those. And normally the ones that you, need to do are the ones that you don't want to do. They're not the fun ones. Prospecting for me is not like, woohoo, I can't wait to be on the computer looking at conferences and conventions and seeing what they need. That's not fun. But I know that if I'm focused on just that one thing, I can do it for 45 minutes, take a break, do it for another 45 minutes. And then I've got the rest of my workday to focus on the fun stuff, making video blogs, doing podcast interviews with wonderful people outside of Halifax. That's you. By the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So just by doing that, prioritizing, I've heard it called the MMAs, your money-making actions. What's the most important thing that you need to do today that's going to make you the money, that's going to advance your business, that's going to set you up for success, whatever. Do that first, so that that's the thing that gets done no matter what. It's the most important thing. It's the thing that's probably the least desirable for you to do or fun that you want to do, and get it done and get done. Rip off that bandage, go to the dentist, get the tooth drilled, and then move on with your life.
Yeah. Get the hard stuff done first.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I've heard in other places where people, they set a timer for, as you said, the 45, 50 minutes, because, I don't know what the psychology behind it is, but it's basically because that you have a 10 or a 15-minute break coming up, it's easier for you to get that focus that you need to get the task done. I'm just speaking from what I've read, because I have never put that into practice. Maybe I should.
Timers
are
wonderful. And we've all got them now. It used to be that you have to get the egg timer and crank that thing up, but we got it on our phones, on our smartwatches. You can even, I have a program I bought years ago that's practically defunct now, but it's a thing where you can set up tasks throughout the day and timers, and you just hit it. And when it goes off, the alarm goes off. And for me, it's kind of fun, because it's like, all right, especially like prospecting. All right, how many potential prospects can I get into my CRM, my customer relationship management software, in this 45 minutes? How many? So now it's a competition. Like, all right, go. All right, go. I've only got 20 minutes left. All right, how many? And then when I take my break, I come back and try to beat that record. So you can make it fun. That the timers are a deadline for you, because we all know we work, usually get stuff done when there's a deadline. There's that big exam tomorrow. I'll start studying tonight. And so there's that pressure, there's that deadline. And you can gamify it, make it fun. But yeah, timers are a wonderful, wonderful way to motivate yourself and push it and keep yourself accountable too.
Yeah, definitely a good tip. Now, Fred, this has been a lot of fun. As we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, that 15-minute break. A lot of people are like, I don't need a break. I can just plow right through and keep getting stuff done, right? I started doing this probably about 1.5 years ago, and I've slacked off from time to time, but I try to get back into it. I try to schedule some time in the day or in the evening where I can spend 15, 20, 30 minutes, maybe, hopefully, doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now, that doesn't mean I'm watching TV. That doesn't mean I'm on my phone scrolling through Facebook and LinkedIn and all that. No, I'm doing absolutely nothing. It'll be outside, maybe, someplace where there's not too many distractions. I'll get a cup of tea, sit on my back porch and just kind of look at the trees and the squirrels and the whatever's out there. And I'll have a notebook with me, because when you're spending time not doing anything, your brain is going to start churning and you're going to start thinking about things, and you'll think, oh, I need to do this, or, hey, wait a minute, this is a good idea. I should try that. And just write down the idea. Don't flesh it out. Don't explore it. Don't call somebody. Just record it. Because if you don't record it, you're going to forget it. And it gives your mind a chance to go, oh, okay, I'm not staring at a screen. I'm not working, as it were. I'm relaxing. And like I said, it gives that part of your brain, the analytical part, a breather, as it were, a little break. So it can just like, okay, let me start processing some of the things that we went through today. And most people don't think that that's very important. It is extremely important. That's why I strive to get the most out of my day that I can, because the more I can do in less time, the more time I have to do that, to relax, to reset my brain, and to set myself up for success for the next day.
Yeah, I definitely agree that our society does not put enough value on the being versus the doing. And we actually have, by the time this episode comes out, there's going to be one episode before and one episode in the week after, exactly on this topic about spending time in the being rather than the doing, because our society is it pushes us to be do. Mm-hmm. And it's that being state is where our creativity and where we're able to manifest from. So that's a great tip.
If it's all do, what you end up with is
burnout.
Do.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. There's an old Buddhist monk said that, you should strive to meditate for 15 minutes, at least 15 minutes a day, or, or for 30 minutes a day. And if you don't have time to meditate for 30 minutes a day, you should meditate for 60 minutes because you need to do this. Yeah. If you don't have time, you need more time to do it. Yeah.
You need more time. Yeah. And where is the best place for people to connect with you, Fred?
Just come on over to the house. I'm down here in Florida. It's wonderful.
I'm booking my ticket.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. There's no snow here. DoSoMuchMore.com is my website. If you want some free resources, go to 5. I've advanced 5hoursback.com, the number 5hoursback.com. There's some productivity tip sheet, 9 things you can do to get on average about 5 hours back in your work week. These are some of the time-saving tips and techniques I was telling you about. And there's some videos on there and some fun stuff as well. So, yeah.
To connect with Fred, make sure you check out the show notes. I will have all of the links in there. And Fred, thank you so much for joining me today. This was a lot of fun.
It was a blast. It was a blast for me. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Roller Coaster Podcast. Want to chat or share your ideas about today's show? Pop me an email at hello@therollercoasterpodcast.com. Don't forget to connect with me on Facebook and Instagram at The Roller Coaster Podcast. Our theme song, Roller Coaster, was performed by The Lucky Setback. Audio editing by the one and only Jeff Quigley of Quigley Creator.